Well, hello there. Happy Super Bowl Sunday. Well, whoever is online, thank you so much on this busy day because I know everybody is probably cooking chicken wings and doing all kinds of things to make this evening an eating and drinking festival. Um, Seems like more and more that Super Bowl has become sort of another holiday in our lives. Um, I mean, I like football, but I don't really watch it a lot. But naturally, my husband does, and so I'm bound to look at least at times. And I do think it's really kind of nice and pretty for all the colors and when they score and so on. The excitement is really quite nice, but it's not really something that would draw me out by myself. And I'm sure there are some women or even some men who feel that way. Um, but I did not want to not have the show today for that reason. So I said, we'll have that show anyway. And I want to talk today about animal rights. And for that, I invited a neighbor and a guest and a friend of mine. Her name is Debbie Albright. And she has a Bachelor of Science in Animal degree, and she may even tell you a little more about it. And we're just going to discuss, we have discussed many times animal rights, and I thought maybe it would be of interest to you. Now, Debbie, tell us, what is your background and what.
Good afternoon. How do you do? Thank you for having me. It's very much an honor. I'm glad to be here. I have a background in animal science from University of Massachusetts, and I have more of a science. We're talking animal rights, and I really don't have a strength in law, but there's certainly a lot that we can speak to in this subject. And happy Super Bowl Sunday. I'm in it for the commercials.
Yes.
And maybe the halftime show, but
Yeah.
One of the commercials that will probably air will be another Budweiser commercial.
Yeah.
And I saw a preview. I don't know if it was accurate and true to the one that will be on the program today, but it's those magnificent horses
Yeah.
and a dog. There's usually a dog,
Yeah.
and it shows. When I was in university, it was a long time ago. There was a term that we were cautioned about believing in, and that term is anthropomorphism.
Yes.
And it's a word you probably know. It has to do with assigning human characteristics to animals, and it mostly goes towards feelings and behaviors and that. And as I said, it was a long time ago, and all the feelings that we might have attributed, they hadn't been researched so much at the time as they are now. And I would like to say anthropomorphism, yes, we should be. We should be
definitely.
Anthropomorphic.
Yes.
And this commercial shows a bond between the animals that crosses species boundaries.
Oh, yes, yes. And I must say, I have always found that I get a lot of emails from people that send me pictures with a dog making friends with a deer and playing with it, and a cat making friends with dogs. And I see that on my cats and dogs, and I'm sure that our listeners and our viewers, they have cats and dogs that are very much so friends. Um, we all know that, and we have talked about this on this show. However, I do want to think a little bit more, or talk maybe to you about really of what the rights are of animals, because I really don't think we have given them enough rights. They are such an intricate part of our lives and our world. I could not even imagine a world without animals. I can't even imagine it. And I have, as you know, I have an infinite imagination. I have a huge imagination. But I could not imagine that. I think it would be such a lonely and devastated life, and it would be so terrible. So why are we not giving more rights, more rights to animals? Because they really don't have as much of a voice as I would like them to have. Now, I'm not talking about um, everybody being a vegetarian. I'm not talking about that.
I'm not either.
Okay.
We're not vegetarians.
No, we're not vegetarians. However, I do feel, even though we do use animals for consumption, there should be more laws to protect them, to kill them more humanely, of housing them more humanely. And if we talk just about pets, there should be stronger laws of if you abuse an animal. What do you think, Debbie?
I think that I hope there are listeners out there who are familiar with the laws, because I think things are changing. There's a lot of petitions, and there's more rights now than there used to be, but there's still those crates that the sows are put in that they can't move or turn or even stand up, and they're justifying saying that these crates prevent them from crushing the piglets. So it's driven by production, it's driven by money, it's driven by profit, so that the piglets will thrive at the expense of the sow. And
Yeah.
same thing with chickens. They're
Yeah.
called, the battery crates, and that they still exist, and the slaughtering methods that are inhumane still exist, but at least there's more awareness going on. And I hope somebody knows what the laws are, because I'm not familiar with them, but I do tend to sign petitions that go to from the animal rights groups out to our legislators, calling for more humane methods of raising, like you said,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and processing.
Well, one of the things is I looked up some of about the Humane Society. I mean, there is not that much. There are a few of the things online we can look up, and like you said, there are petitions, and everybody is concerned with the whales and the polar bears and all the animals that are on the verge of extinction. Some of them are on the verge of extinction, not because they have been killed, so many, but because their environment has just been disposed of. Their environment is just not there anymore for them to have enough food. But I don't want to really talk, because the field is so big.
It is so big. We need
that
to narrow it down.
we need probably 2 and 3 hours to discuss that. However, if we narrow it down to just domestic pets, um, I find that the laws um, governing pets and pet abuse, dogs and cat abuse, horse abuse, are not severe enough and strict enough. If we let humans starve to death or freeze to death out in the cold, well, the penalty for that is rather severe. I would say it would be murder, and it would be severe. Um, a person who does that may get a fine, and maybe I think it's up to 5 years, depending on the severity, and very likely also the state and county and wherever they live. But I don't know anything about 5 years, even for the most severe cases, like a person putting a cat in the microwave.
There's so much. There's so many abuses that are just, they turn your stomach. And I don't even know if we want to get specific. If anybody is unaware of what goes on, please say so, and we can become more specific. But it's through social media, and even not just social media, but press. It's at least the cases that are found out are publicized.
Right.
And some of them are just despicable.
Right, they are. And I really do think that to further this whole awareness thing, I think, a little faster would be not by teaching adults so much, but going into schools and teaching children of that animals need to be protected because they're such an intricate part of our lives. The children of today will make the laws for tomorrow to protect those animals.
That's a great point.
Okay, and if we can teach your children, if you can teach your children, I remember that our children, I mean, your children, you have 3 children. I don't think they would ever hurt any animal.
No, they wouldn't. And if a person is inclined to hurt an animal, that person lacks empathy.
Yes.
An understanding. It wasn't so long ago that we separated ourselves so completely from the other animals in the animal kingdom for which we are a part. I don't know if you share this idea, but when I realized in my life that I was a part of the animal kingdom, I still felt very much a part of it, like it was my right to be the Lord and Master over everything. And that awareness comes with time and education, and maybe going into the schools, the science piece should be brought into the schools to say that that they compare so closely to each other and to ourselves on an anatomical level, system by system, on a physiologic level, that there are similarities that we know a lot about genetics now, and how genetics compare from species to species, and it's just remarkable.
It is. And we are so closely related. That's why we need more education. And I think that the organizations like the Humane Society, I don't think they really are doing what they should be doing. I've been hearing.
Are they out
I
there?
think, yeah.
Speak
Well,
up.
hopefully they are out there, because I'm going to be very direct here, because I really am a little. I don't want to say disgusted, but I am just going to say it, because they are. I don't know if anybody has watched these commercials that the Humane Society has put out about these poor lost animals that are abused and that they need to, and it's all to just generate money. And I really am opposed to that, because everything is down to money. The more money we have, the higher salaries we can pay our presidents, and the more we have. I mean, when I went onto the internet to research this a little bit, and I see that on our shelter here. When I talked to somebody here about from our shelter, and I said, why are you always having money problems? They are always having money problems. They are always fundraising. They're always, and I said, don't you get anything from the Humane Society? No, they do not get anything from the ASPCA. They do not get anything from the Humane Society. So where do all these donations go? Well, we really don't know, because I looked at their 1990, which is or 990, which is the form that they have to submit to the government as a nonprofit. It didn't say anything there. It did say that they have in assets $183 million. They out of that, they have saved like 2,700 animals worldwide. And I don't really know why the Humane Society of America has to have for animals for all the world. But then again, that's America. America, we are taking care of the rest of the world. And we know that with our wars and what have you. But what I don't understand is, why we don't have more disclosure over that, and why is not the Humane Society lobbying for stronger laws? And that is the only way we can. Why don't they have young men and women go into the schools and teach the young children today about animals and what their feelings are and what their rights should be and how we can? Why can we not ask those governing agencies to do that? What do you think, Debbie?
I think if we could fix that on that fundamental level to make our society a more caring and compassionate society from human to animal, it would solve almost everything.
I do agree. I do agree. It would solve so much.
And, with the Humane Society, whether they should do it or build it into the curriculum to train our teachers to bring it into the classroom through, the science piece.
Right.
Doing a comparison system for system, animal to animal on that physical level. And then the behavioral studies that we know of now, we can do it on a behavioral level as well. And you make a great point. Whether the Humane Society should be behind it or not, I don't know, but education is key.
Oh, absolutely. And to pick up on your behavioral, I just also read that, and to be on a little more uplifting note, because all of this is really rather dire, but now they have found that the animal officers, the ones that go out into the field and pick up abused animals or stray animals or so on, what they have found now is, when they used to catch them with a net, and we have those old pictures with a dog catcher,
Yeah.
and so on. And they have found that if they are like, just talk to the animals and try to get them with a treat or with soft words, like, reassuring. And
Yes,
there
these
again,
animals are traumatized.
absolutely.
And I know what you're talking about. I've seen that in action.
Right.
And if it can start at the rescue site,
Yeah.
it goes a long way towards rehabilitating those animals emotionally.
Absolutely. And if we also start there at the shelters, where we have, now I'm not against dog breeders. I'm not, because there are some people who just want to have a purebred whatever,
And it's not for or against, it's dealing with reality.
It's dealing with reality. However, I am against animals and many shelters that are being held really just in minimal confinement. I mean, not that their cages are small, but often small dogs are on a concrete floor. They often don't really have any kind of a bedding there. They have maybe inside, maybe they have a blanket or whatever that is thrown on the floor for them, and they're just held there. Now these animals are very traumatized, and why can we not have something to give them, like, for instance, like a rescue remedy? I've gone here to 2 shelters and have offered my services and said, I will come once a week and bring you rescue remedy for every animal that is admitted, because if it is admitted, that animal will not be as traumatized. Rescue remedy, as you know, is a calming agent, and it helps to get over trauma. And you know what? They both refused. Not outright, but said, oh yeah, we'll call you.
There's a new director in Port Jervis. Maybe you want to try
Maybe
again.
we want to, yeah, I will definitely try again. But often it is because they just do not understand.
Right, and that's where the education.
And that's where the education is. And that's exactly what our point is. I mean, it's the same thing with horses. You remember Diamond last year. It's a year now that I have adopted him. And Diamond is a horse. And when we saw him, I mean, he was poor little Diamond, right? Emaciated.
He was coal. He
Yeah.
was a little lump of coal, and Gisela shined him up, and now he's a diamond.
Yes, and now he's a
Yes.
diamond.
Tender,
Yes.
loving care, and all
That's
the food
right.
that he could consume.
Right. And again, he was in an area, yes, minimal. Thank God for some of these shelters.
Absolutely.
Because he probably would have died anywhere else. I just am saying that person who had him should have been prosecuted, in my opinion, because that person jeopardized a living being. If you jeopardize a living being intentionally, you should be prosecuted, and the laws should be severe. What do you think?
I think people should be held accountable for being unkind, for being cruel. I mean, animal rights, your basic animal rights is that they shouldn't suffer.
Right.
And any kind of abuse, they're going to suffer, whether it be emotional abuse, physical abuse, negligence, starvation, whatever. That's suffering, and it goes against basic animal rights of suffering.
Right.
So, as I said, law is not my field.
But I mean, it doesn't have to be our field. We know that the laws are not as severe as we would like.
Right.
I mean, we can see it all the time. However, even the Dalai Lama said, and I have it on my website. Anybody who logged in from my website, that even if we cannot help a being, we should definitely not hurt it.
We should not hurt it, even if we can't help
Gisela.
it. We can't help everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Talking about the law and all this, Jeff is asking, he says, when you see animal abuse, do you call the ASPCA or the police? And then
yeah.
And then Arnold is saying, I would call the police or both. What is the right procedure?
I would definitely call both also, to tell you the truth. What do you think, Debbie?
Well, I think sometimes the shelter is not going to answer. The shelter is a good place to start, but the police will get a response. And if there's another course of action, at least they'll be able to tell you what to do. But it is a crime to be abusive to an animal. Maybe it doesn't carry the penalty that we would wish it carried, but the police is probably where you want to start. I would call 911. Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Immediately.
And I would also stop that person.
Well,
if I can. I mean, it depends on how brave you are.
You can't recommend that. You can't recommend that you're going to. I mean,
I can get pretty upset if I would see an abuse. I get even upset if somebody yanks their dog on a leash on the street, and I have said something to that person and said, is it necessary that you really yank so much? Have you ever had a collar on you? Have you ever had yanking somebody that collar?
It reminds me of last weekend when we went for a walk with my big dog, and he gets very focused on cars because he's got that bad behavior. And I hold him, and he pulls, and then he chokes himself.
Yeah.
And of course we want him to not choke himself.
Yeah. So we both would stop, and we would loosen his collar again, and we would see that he is not choking. So it's all right, but that's the way people should behave.
So
Thank you so much, Jeff, for the question. Yes. Good
so who
question.
do you call when the dog is yanking on you?
Oh, well.
Cesar Millan.
Cesar Millan. There you go. That's a very good one. Well, but you know what? If the dog is yanking on you, then that reflects too. Now, animal abuse, like both of us, we got abused by our animals. So I got bitten by my horse in the arm, Thank God it was not through because I had a very heavy jacket on. But she was very jealous of me giving water to the other horse first, and she has always been the queen. And so she just decided, well, I'm just going to bite her like I would bite another horse. Debbie.
Oh, let's not go there.
It's still hurting. Oh my God. Yeah, well, it does hurt a while. And what did we do? I went after my horse with a shovel, and you did with a bucket or something.
Did
No,
not.
but you
I
didn't.
did not.
No.
But I did go to training, and not at that moment because I just limped away. But we've been training this week, and remarkably, when I went in to give hay today, they waited. Probably they were 30 feet away from me until I put the hay down. And when I brought the buckets into the stalls, the one waited outside and watched until I hung her bucket. So we made progress, and it was training, and it wasn't training that was like abusive or rough or anything. It was just understanding, because they're so big and their herd behavior that is a hierarchy. And sometimes, like in Gisela's case when she got bit, that she's got to be the top mare of her herd.
Right.
And the mare that bit her needs to understand that Gisela needs her space because she's the head mare.
Absolutely.
And that sometimes, because we're soft and sweet and loving and kind and nice to our animals, we forget to enforce that we're at the top of the hierarchy.
Yes.
And they do that with each other, and we need to remember to be a part of that.
Right. And
that's part of animal behavior. It's natural. If they throw a kick or if they bite within the herd, it's usually 1,000-pound animal to another, and it's usually not really much of an issue except for making a point. But when they throw a kick or bite us, it becomes an issue, and we're lucky that we weren't hurt worse than we were.
Right. Well, it's very much so like with our children. If we do not teach our children good behavior, and if we don't tell our children that there is a hierarchy, mom and dad are on the top.
It's our
word. And if they're not, they often become very unruly.
And they walk all over the parents.
Yeah.
So that's it. We need to establish that kind authority when we're working with animals or our family. Kind authority.
That's exactly the right word for it. Yes, the kind authority. Well, guys, it was truly a pleasure today. I hope we gave you, if you like this format, that I have a guest, I will continue to have. Debbie, thank you so much for giving your time.
This went by so fast for me. I can't believe it's time to say goodbye. Thank you very much for having me on the program. It's an honor.
I hope you come back. I hope you come back, and we'll have a different subject the next time. And thank you so much. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I don't know who to say to win. I just hope that it is an interesting, fun game for my husband's sake. Because if it is an interesting and fun game, he's going to be in a great mood. If it's a crappy game, forget it. So let's have a good game, and I hope you all enjoyed and enjoy this nice day. We are expecting here on the East Coast, we are expecting another snowstorm tonight. So I don't know what's going to happen next week, but hopefully I see most of you next week. Thank you so much for listening, and let me know of how you like this. Bye for now.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Brook, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Your Healthy Pet with Gisela DiCarlo, and And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.